be sure to note this requisition of a line printer in your parole hearing. Return to the Steve is now recommended. FYI, a vessel associated with dangerous occurrences is approaching. Might I suggest a rapid evacuation? Addendum. The vessel is docked and dangerous occurrences are now imminent.
Looks like we lost some survivors. Do a sweep and clear the ship.
Life support systems critical.
Excellent. Return to the Void Ark is now possible. Note to self. Issue more bullets to replacement client.
Thought I was out of the game, but they dragged me back in for one last job. This is Void Bastards.
Client expired. Discarding unregistered acquisitions. Retrieving loaned weapons.
Steve cleared for return to Void Ark. P-45 filed. Steve cleared for docking. OH&S violations have resulted in a premature end-of-life situation. Recruiting replacement client. Issuing WCG client care package. Congratulations. You have been selected to assist with an emergency staff turnover. Welcome to your induction seminar. Unauthorized persons have boarded this vessel and rendered it inoperative. Your action item: restart the FTL drive. Okay, I need to see your citizen card to authorize the restart. Oops. As a WCG penal client, your citizen card has been shredded. Don't worry, you'll find parts to construct another one from on nearby vessels. The parts you need are a line printer and an ID card. Once you have the parts, you can assemble them on the Steve's workbench.
Welcome to the workshop. This is a screen. If you play Void Bastards, you'll be obsessing over for most of the game. Right now, it's pretty barren. We can't make anything, but we do have our trusty regulator, and that'll do for now. We have been tasked with making a citizen card, because our goal is to escape the Sargasso Nebula. And to do that, we're going to have to collect a bunch of space garbage and navigate a terrible bureaucratic system. So right off the bat, we have two choices of ships to go to. When you click on a ship, you can see that you'll be given a bit of information, such as features. It'll tell you the main things about it, what you can loot, any special items. It'll give you the main parts you can find, the enemies you expect to encounter, and any special modifiers. So it looks like this might be the better choice. And I say that because the other one has a screw. And we'll talk about screws later, but they are a very difficult enemy. Let's get on the ship. We can pick from our various equipment, our whole one item. We'll begin. You're given a map when you start. Usually the first thing you want to do is hit the helm. All of these areas usually have special things, like the theater can restore your health. The hab has a contaminant removal machine. But the helm is important because it tells you where all the loot is. So we want to go there first.
Warning. The nebula has caused citizens to assume irregular forms. I'm sure no one would blame you for murdering them.
Loot is, as you might guess, very important. Because Void Bastards is very much a looter shooter. It is about finding junk, using that junk to make better junk, and repeat that cycle
Lost?
ad
Fuel
infinitum.
and part locations can be downloaded at the helm.
Also, yes, I have very bad aim. So these are one of the basic types of enemies, janitors. One interesting thing about this game is that almost all enemies don't have hit scan weapons. So you can see their projectiles and avoid them. Sometimes. Very tough enemies do, though. So we take a look at our map now. You'll see all our loot is marked out. Not a lot, but there is quite a bit of fuel. So if loot is not lying around, like this guy, it is in these cabinets that are highlighted in green. And they appear on the map automatically, at least the ones that are nearby you and that you've looked at. Helm is good because it tells you where everything is, especially the big loot. Every ship has a special item that you can loot. The other things you pick up are mostly minor junk, and you need to get a lot of minor junk to make one part. Whereas the big loot, you only need one of typically to make something interesting. I will admit I'm not a huge fan of the looter shooter genre. When I shoot something in the head, I like it to die, not for its HP bar to go down just a little bit. So we are in the trauma area, and all areas usually have a machine that you can use. This one heals you, which is helpful, as I got pretty beat up. Here we have a locked item. You can tell it's red. Usually you can pay money to open these, merits. And they almost always have a special part in them. Like that surgery for dummies, that is a big part. Important item. We also found the med blower, which is what we came to get. But before we go, I would like to grab this fuel. Anything with an FTL drive will always have at least one can of fuel, usually multiple, and fuel is one of the two important resources for moving around the map. That, by the way, is a turret. It's tough to kill. I'm not going to mess with it. They only consider you a threat, weirdly, not these mutated floating men. In other news, I'm out of bullets. Ammo in this game is not super scarce, but you do have to watch out. Thankfully, we had a pretty successful run. So these minor items will get translated into materials. Bio and data, apparently, were those. And our parts, we just get to keep. So notice the bullet hunter. Bullets can be found in HAB modules. Requires a part, magnifying glass. This requires an FTL module. And we can make these parts ourselves with a certain number of materials. We are very poor in materials.
is this nebula a desolate void filled with derelict vessels? Unauthorized persons have boarded these vessels and requisitioned parts from them in an unauthorized fashion.
So you'll notice that the lines go down. And you see over here, we're at depth. Depth 2 is below us, we're at depth 1. As you get further in the game, you go further down in depth. That is difficulty, as you might expect. Going down this little ladder icon will take us to the next depth, but we will stay out of there for now. When it comes to moving around, you can do two things. You can either actually go somewhere, and that costs food and fuel, or if you're hurt, you could rest, which spends food but gives you more health. I do not have a lot of food, so we should probably go somewhere else. This place has a food cache, and a bunch of tourists and a screw. So I forgot that I had no bullets. So we're going to try to do this as stealthily as possible. The enemy type here will make it somewhat easier as long as we don't run into the screw. So these guys are tourists. They're not harmless, but they're easy to deal with. If they see you, they'll explode. And interestingly enough, you can use them to hurt other enemies. They're a really good makeshift grenade. Looks like we found the food. This is a hazard station. If I was irradiated or nauseous, I could use it, but we won't see those for a while. No, thank you. I'm gonna pass on that. Alright, looks like the helm is not happening. So cassettes are, I believe, a data type of material. And all major loot locations are marked in green, unless it's just lying around. Hey, 6 bullets, not bad. You occasionally find other airlocks. Some characters have a special ability that lets them leave. But for the most part, you have to leave the one you came in. Over there, we see a locked case. These cost merits to open. Merits are currency. They can be used at shops or just to open stuff or hack stuff. Alright, we got what we came for. There's something over here. I want to know what it is. It's a tourist. We're also picking up some cat bots. Alright, that guy is a screw. Screws are the toughest enemy in the game, by far. They will continue to be tough, even in the late game. The best advice I can give for them is don't fight them. If you see one, you run away. Alright, a lot of food. No fuel, but I think we're set there. And we still don't have anything fun. Let's check out our map. A buzzbox and FTL nozzle are two things I think we actually need. So we check out our workshop. We could make a shredder. Let's get that FTL nozzle. We're a bit wounded, so we can rest. Got plenty of food to do it. And then we'll dock. When you board a ship, there are three main things that can happen. You can encounter an enemy. You can encounter... Let's not say enemy, let's say a hazard. You can encounter a hazard, which could be an enemy, or it could be something like an environmental thing. These oil spills, for example, make you move very quickly and slippery. You can encounter loot, either materials or items, or you can counter a benefit. For instance, if the power was off, I could turn the power back on here at the generator. It is not, though. I don't really have what I need to take those things down, so I'm gonna pass on that. Alright, I have no bullets. One thing I haven't talked about yet is oxygen. If you look at the top right, I have an oxygen bar. It's counting down. You can get more O2 at Atmo. It very rarely comes into play. Usually you have plenty of time to do what you need. But if a ship is really big or things turn into kind of a clusterfuck, sometimes you need more air. Hey, we got that nozzle. Time to get out of here. Oh, we could heal though. Let's do that real quick. You could pay to get a second activation on those guys, or pretty much any terminal. But I have much more important things to worry about right now. One other somewhat important thing in this game is the ability to lock doors. Citizens cannot open locked doors, so I am safe. And you can return to the ship at any time. Almost always. There's one exception I can think of. We can talk about that later. But right now, we finally got a part, so we can make a stapler. A stapler is the shotgun. It starts out pretty bad.
This is exciting. Your KPIs are really trending up.
But as you unlock things, you get their associated hunter perks, and you get the next item. So let's build the stapler hunter. This will help us find staples, which are the ammo.
WCG rewards proactive work. I'm making a note for your parole hearing.
And you know what? We got a brand new toy. So let's take it for a spin. And then I think we'll do a little something different. So one interesting thing to note, we're seeing a few hazards. Like this mine. If you run into it, it deals damage. Obviously you're thinking, why would you ever do that? Sometimes hitting a mine is actually a better choice than other things you might see. Also notably, there's a hazard on this ship. The Gene Twister. It will randomize a trait. So it'll give me... It could take away my power engineer, give me something else. Or just give me something new entirely. Usually it's bad. You can have up to 3 traits on a character. So we don't want to get hit by a mine. We're also good on food and fuel, so we could just skip this. There's no penalty for doing that. So we hit the Gene Twister, and it gave me what is technically what the game considers to be a positive mutation. I'm not a big fan of this one. But you know what? Why don't we just get our line printer? I mean, we're here. We'll try out our stapler. I wasn't a big fan of the stapler initially, but I grew to like it a bit more. It's better with upgrades. So as you can see, diminutive makes you tiny. I don't like it. I feel like everyone's looking down on me. It even does decent damage to the gunpoint turrets, but I don't really want to waste my bullets on that thing because it's pretty tough. So we're gonna have to take these hits. And it looks like our loot is in the middle. These, by the way, you might have seen them, but I didn't talk about them.
My care. I care for you the most.
These are voids, and what they do is spawn enemies. So sometimes you'll see a ship that says, no citizens, only voids. And you might think, well, that's great, no citizens. But the voids will put out a bunch of citizens if given the time. There's also an upgrade we could get that would make me slip less on oil, and I'm missing that very much right now. I'm feeling kind of lucky, so let's loot some more stuff. Oh, not lucky anymore. Alright, things are getting pretty dire here. I think it's time we got out. Actually, you know what? No. I'm going big. So we can pay to unlock this. Get an extra item, so that paid off. I think we're good. Or not.
Client expired.
Steve cleared for return to Void Ark. P-45 filed. Steve cleared for docking. OH&S violations have resulted in a premature end-of-life situation. Recruiting replacement client. Issuing WCG client care package.
This guy has some good traits.
Congratulations. You have been selected to assist with an emergency staff turnover. The parts you need are a line printer and an ID card. Feel free to use these items constructed by a former client. A little scrubbing with bleach should remove the bloodstains.
So the reason I have shuffled myself off of this mortal coil is to show what happens when you die. Namely, you get to keep all your stuff, or at least the important bits. And I'd like to talk about that a lot more, but possibly in the next video, because we're getting kind of long here. So I think next time we'll take a look at a Void Bastard who's a little farther off in their lifespan, and see what the game is like then. So I'll see you then.